everybody. Welcome to When Calls the Hallmarkies. This is the show where we talk about what's been going on in Hope Valley, When Calls the Heart, and we are almost at the finale of season 8. This is episodes 10 and 11 that we're talking about. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Ruth is here.
Hey, nice to be back.
And Caroline is here.
Hey.
Hey. So how are both of you doing?
Good.
Yeah, great.
Doing well. Good. Well, it's going to be fun to talk about. And we are going to have our episode next week, because normally we do every 2 weeks, but we're going to do next week. And we're going to talk about the finale and just sort of an overall season analysis. So that will be fun. You don't have to wait 2 weeks for that. But let's dive in. Let's talk about Old Love, New Love, Is This True Love? That's episode 10. And this episode of our show, these 2 episodes are kind of hot and cold for me. I really loved this episode. I think that this episode is pretty much peak When Calls the Heart. Everything involving Ned and Florence has been peak When Calls the Heart for me this season.
Yeah.
Would you agree, Caroline?
Yes, I have been pleasantly surprised about how much I have loved Florence and Ned. Like, I loved them, the whole series, but just seeing them like in the spotlight has been really sweet, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Would you agree, Ruth?
Absolutely. I couldn't say any better. Caroline, you said it. We'll leave it at what you said. It's great.
Yeah. So we start out with Ned having cold feet. And, and he says, as cold feet for real. and all of the men are just aching to give him advice. They're trying to help him. But he's looking at Gowan is the main. And Gowan says, well, maybe today isn't the day, but you have a big heart. Trust it. That was very cute. Yeah. Were you surprised that Ned picked Gowan to be his best man? What about you, Ruth?
Yeah, I mean, well, to be honest, I hadn't even thought about who he picked, so I don't know how surprised. I was surprised for a moment, yes, but then again, I mean, Gowan is probably closer to Ned's age. I mean, a lot of the men are younger, so maybe that just made more sense. I don't know, and and Ned. I can't remember if Ned was there for season 1. I don't remember. I'll be honest. I don't remember. I mean, of course, Gowan was.
But, do you remember, Caroline?
He was, but it was just like a not background, but it wasn't. He wasn't in the forefront.
Right. Okay. So I guess so. It probably makes sense too, because they've been Hope Valley residents for all this time, and some of the people who've come in were not original. In fact, a lot of the men were not original Hope Valley residents. So maybe there's really been that connection all along. It just probably makes sense. I hadn't thought about it, so I was a little bit surprised, but then I thought, how cool. And so
yeah. What did you think about that, Caroline?
I thought it was sweet that he picked Henry. Like, I was like, oh, but like I was like guessing it was going to be Hickam or Carson. Like, I was thinking one of those, like either of those two. And but I was pleasantly surprised that it was Henry. I thought that was cute.
Yeah, it was nice because, as you said, Ruth, they are kind of closer in age, and there isn't really anybody else that I can think of in the town that would be kind of his companion in that way that I can think of. And so it was really nice, and a nice moment for Gowan to be encouraging with Ned. And you have Allie coming in this opening sequence, and she's all talking to Paul and making Robert jealous.
Yep.
That's what I took from that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
the the Grants and the love triangle, like they're just drawn to it, I guess.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
And we have all the women are debating about Florence's hair. And whenever all of the women get together, it definitely has a feel of the pick a little, talk a little Music Man.
Yeah.
Pick a little. And she's so sweet, Florence. She says, at least for a day, I want to be brave enough to see myself differently. And then her and Molly are saying, you are not an ugly duckling.
Right.
It's very sweet.
Right. Yeah.
That was sweet.
Yeah, it was.
And then we have Carson and Faith. And they're just so wishy-washy about this whole thing. Like 1 minute Faith wants him to go. Next minute she doesn't want him to go. And she says that she has a case of acute loneliness.
Yeah.
Caroline, how are you feeling about Carson and Faith?
1 minute I'm like Carson and Faith. 1 minute I'm like, oh, like they're gonna make it, and then I'm like, oh, they're not gonna make it. And but I want them to work out so bad, but I just don't know, like, because they're just so different right now. Like they seem so different.
Things aren't looking good. Do you agree, Ruth?
Yeah, I agree. Things do not look good for Carson and Faith. I just, I wanted, and it's really kind of upsetting because originally I didn't want them together at all way back. Then they completely sold me on their relationship, and now it's like, what's the deal here? I wanted you two together, and now you two are like so different, and this hot and cold thing I can't keep up with. Whether you're supposed to be together, whether it makes sense for you two to be together, whether you need to be apart.
Yeah. I don't really. It is kind of going all over.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. So we have a scene with Lee and Joseph. Joseph is building the bell, or getting it ready to be installed in the church. And Lee says, I'm a man of moderate faith. And did we know that about Lee, that he was middle as far as his kind of faith, if that makes sense? I mean, we don't talk here.
I think I vaguely remember. I vaguely remember in season 2, like right when he came to Hope Valley, and he and Jack were building the church, and I remember them talking about it, but like that he wasn't like super strong, but then it just kind of that story went away. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Then we get this man in town, that is asking for a haircut. Very creepy. Wyman. And so Fiona tells him that he has to go to the neighboring town. And it turns out this is the guy, we learn later that this is the guy who swindled Jesse and Clara. And he was definitely very creepy. I got bad vibes.
Yeah.
We have Minnie and Clara making the wedding cake. And that was kind of fun. Looked pretty in the end, I thought.
I thought so too.
Yeah, I like simple cakes without like too much frou-frou on them.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Classy.
Yes. So they got Katie Yost back, and at first she says that she doesn't want her dad to get married, and of course that upsets Ned. Caroline, what do you think about having Katie back?
I was so happy to see Katie. I was wondering if she was like, I was missing her this season. So I was happy to see her back. And I hated that she didn't want Ned to get married, but it was in a sweet way that she didn't want him to get married. Like, I understood it. But like, I'm glad she came around.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It was nice to see her back, because I know it. And it was interesting to hear that she was a teacher. Isn't that what she was doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
'Cause I didn't remember that. It was kind of like she just disappeared and we didn't really know where she went. I didn't. Now maybe I missed it, but I don't remember. I just remember that it was like she was just gone off doing that. Because she hasn't been in it for at least one, if not two seasons. I can't remember which now.
Mm-hmm.
I know she wasn't in last season at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if she was in the season before.
I think
She might have been.
a little bit in season
A little
6,
bit.
but it wasn't like a big,
Right.
it wasn't a, yeah.
Right. So it was nice to see her back, and you never know. They could always bring her back again should we have another season.
Right.
They could.
And the only thing I would have maybe changed is I might have had Elizabeth be the one with Katie and maybe somebody else be the one with Ned, because it just felt a little, especially where Elizabeth is at right now. It seems like, is she the one that should be giving this advice? I don't know. But I don't know. I would have been.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
She would.
It seems like Elizabeth was.
She was
always
dishing all this advice, and she's not listening to herself.
Yeah.
But isn't that often what Elizabeth has done? Like Elizabeth has really good advice, but she doesn't always take her own advice. I actually think a lot of us tend to be guilty of that. Sometimes it's really easy to go in, no matter what we're going through in our lives, we could be going through the worst challenge of our lives, but then we're able to look at another situation, maybe somebody going through something, and we can give this really great advice. We don't take our own advice. But it's really easy to give that advice. We know the right thing to do,
so true.
But we don't always. We know the right thing to do. So I would say, for example, I think Elizabeth knows the right thing to do. I think that's probably what we're seeing so much in these couple episodes is that Elizabeth knows what she needs to do, and she knows how to help others, but she's not willing to take her own advice at this point.
Yeah.
She's not ready to take it.
Yeah, it could have just been a nice opportunity for another character to have also had, some character growth. And it just, like, that's why I say it would have been good for her to talk to Katie, and then I think I would have had somebody else. But it's a nitpick. But yeah, she talks about she doesn't want her dad to grieve again. And but then Florence is awesome, and she says, "I will still think the best of you, even if you do have cold feet. And I will always love you."
Yeah,
so sweet.
I know, it was really good, and I loved that they had their first kiss in private. That was so
Me too.
cute. Yeah, that was good. And
I was grinning like a. I was like, "Oh, that's so cute."
Yep. So Carson has a ring that he's going to give to Faith. He's had it since Christmas. And we get more into that in the next episode. But that's sort of brought up, and Elizabeth says they say, you make a living by what you get, and you make a life by what you give. That was a good line, I thought.
Yeah. And
then Rosemary and Clara are working on the dress, and Molly actually gives Florence her dress that she'd gotten to impress Bill. It's kind of funny the way that, like, everyone knows that's why she got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that the Bill dress?
Yeah. I love when she said that. Like, wasn't that what you got to impress Bill? I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Clara continues to have 3 jobs. And she's
bless her heart
working with Rosemary on the dress, and they sew the dress to their skirts.
Yes.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So we get a line from Gowan about how every time he sees the sign on the cafe, he has all this regret. But then he also says that they've been writing.
Yes.
So, Ruth, do you think that we're going to see Abigail back next season?
I certainly think there are a lot of clues that seem to be getting dropped this season that would suggest that. I think that I know that the show, those involved with the show, even behind the scenes, even Brian Bird has mentioned that that they wouldn't have a problem bringing Lori Loughlin back. I think that the bigger issue that they might run into is that, remember, it was Hallmark Cards that owns Hallmark Channel that made the decision that Lori Loughlin could no longer be a part of the channel network. And so it's going to be, they have to be the ones to change that decision. If that decision is changed, then as long as they can convince that leadership, then I am, 99.999% convinced that Lori would be back, which I would fully support. I would totally support that.
I have mixed feelings.
I'm iffy. Yeah, me too.
I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like there's so many people that are working hard who aren't felons and haven't done what she did. And I feel like, why should we give her the chance when we could give somebody else that's grinding it out and trying to make it and hasn't been as privileged as she has been? I don't know. It kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit. But then again, I don't care like that much about it. So like, I guess I could deal with it, but it wouldn't be I don't think my first choice personally.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I miss seeing her like involved with the show, like Lori involved with the show. But like, I don't miss Abigail as much when I'm watching. Like, I miss her with like right now with Elizabeth. Like, I bet she would give Elizabeth some good advice. With with Lucas and Nathan, but I don't miss her like as mayor, but like I miss her as Elizabeth's friend, if that makes sense. Like I could see her come back like in a guest role.
Yeah,
but I don't want her back as like full cast, because I love the cast right now.
Yeah, I seriously doubt that they would bring her back in the same capacity, at least if they were going to do it next season, if they are able to swing that. I seriously doubt that it would be her coming back as she once was, but we'll just, we'll see. I know I don't make those decisions. Whatever they choose, sure. I'm fine, which is really surprising, because I would not have been of that persuasion 2 years ago. I would have said absolutely not. But a lot has changed within me that I now can say I would support her coming back. But that's but I know not everybody's there, and I know and I can see it from both sides. I mean, I totally get what you two were saying as well. And it is one of those very complicated situations. And I
also feel like she hasn't made her mea culpas yet. I feel like I need to see her say, I'm sorry for what I did. I feel bad about it. Whatever. This is the volunteer work I'm doing. This is the whatever. I feel like I need that personally before I'll be like more open to it. I mean, I have no say in it, obviously, but I'm just saying personally, I would be a little bit annoyed. I would like to see a little bit of, I'd like to see
redemption,
her little tour where she goes on Good Morning America or whatever and says she's sorry for what she did. But anyway, I'm sure everybody has lots of opinions listening, so let us know in the comments what you think. We have Katie is there at the wedding. The rest of the episode is basically the wedding, and you have Katie there, and that was really sweet. And then Joseph and Bill are the officiants at the wedding, which was nice. And we find out his name is Edmund instead of Ned.
Yes.
Oh,
that was funny.
That was cute.
Lee, that was so cute.
Yes.
And then we get a scene with Carson and Faith where Carson says, "Oh, I'm staying," but Faith says, "No, you should go." And later he says, "I'm definitely going."
I know. And yeah.
And then we get the wedding, and it was so sweet. I loved the wedding. This might be my favorite Hope Valley wedding. I adored it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It was sweet and simple. Yeah.
yeah. And he gives Florence the ring at the end. That was so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that. And then we have dancing at the reception. Robert and Allie dancing.
Oh,
yeah.
Cute. And then we have Hickam and Fiona.
Oh, that was so cute.
Oh yeah.
And earlier in the episode, she says, they say, let them talk. And she says to him that we're good friends, let them talk. And he says that he thinks of her as a confidant.
Mm-hmm.
We think it's more than that, though.
Oh,
yeah.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, you know that those two are there's sparks between those two.
Yeah.
That's more than just friends or confidants. That's they're getting close. It's just
but if Fiona breaks Hickam's heart, I'm gonna be really mad at Fiona.
Oh, I will be too.
I'm like, don't mess with I'm protecting Hickam, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of Hickam, we will have our interview with Ben Rosenbaum this Friday, I believe. We're going to have it, so keep an eye out for that before the finale. He is so much fun. Then we have Elizabeth takes Nathan outside and they have a talk, and she says, I don't blame you for Jack's death. And then Lucas can see her with him, them holding hands outside.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about this moment, Caroline?
I thought it was very sweet that she did that. Like I was dreading that. Like I was like, oh, she's gonna tell him stop, trying to just stop. And I was like, oh, she's forgiving. Like she's saying she doesn't blame him. That was very sweet. Mm-hmm. And Lucas watching it did make me laugh that he walked by and saw them hold hands. I'm like, oh, poor Lucas. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was very sweet, and obviously Nathan was moved by it. Like he wasn't expecting it either. Mm-hmm. Like he was expecting her to say oh, I don't love you. Please stop. Yeah.
I kind of wish that, and this goes more into next episode, but I kind of wish they had given another female character as a possible love interest for these three characters, because I think it would make Elizabeth's character give her more motivation. The way it is now, these two men are just so sort of beholden to her and just sort of waiting on her, that it kind of makes me frustrated with her. And I think it even maybe makes her a tad unlikable sometimes, the way she's treating them. But if there was another person, then she could have some jealousy. She could have some, I don't know. I think that would have made it more interesting. But as it is, these men are just kind of at her beg and call. And but yeah, I mean, I don't think that she has very much chemistry with either of them. And I think that part of the problem is that they have kept it ambivalent so long that it's made her feel ambivalent. It's made her the chemistry is not there for either of these men, in my opinion, with Elizabeth. And I asked Aaron Krakow if there was going to be passion, but I don't know. At this point, I just feel like whoever she picks, it's going to feel really meh to me, because she's been so ambivalent. I don't know. What do you think, Caroline?
I chemistry, I guess it's subjective. Cause I see the chemistry with Aaron and Kevin, and I see some chemistry with Chris, but it's not the same. To me, it's more friendship chemistry to me, with Lucas. And but I see but I agree though. I would have liked to seen another girl come to Hope Valley and try to get with the other guy, but I couldn't. Love square. I couldn't take a love square. I could barely take the love triangle.
At the very least, do you agree that they've stretched it out too long?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
this whole season has been stressful.
Yeah.
Like I'm like I went in thinking it's gonna be over in like 2 episodes. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be good. And I'm like, it's the last episode. I'm like, oh Lord.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think, Ruth?
I,
About
I,
chemistry?
I actually like her with both of them. I haven't seen any issues with chemistry. I don't think they've stretched it out too much, but that's just my opinion. My mom and I both have enjoyed it. We're both of the same mindset. And I'll save what I think for the next episode. We
Okay.
can talk about the next episode because I have some thoughts on the next episodes, and my mom thinks that I might be right. So we'll see. But I understand what you're saying about there being another like woman,
Mhm.
and you never know, that could be for next season. You know, they might.
Lord.
You don't know.
No.
You don't know.
Yeah. That
They
could be
said it's gonna be
interesting.
over in episode 12. Like I can't take it.
Oh well,
I don't know. I don't think. I mean,
I don't. It's not going to be over. Caroline, I'm sorry, but I doubt it's really going to be over.
Yeah, there's not going to be a proposal or anything like that.
No,
like maybe she might agree to go on a date or something. Like I'm not.
I will say when we get there, because I'm sure we'll be talking about it. I'm saving. I want to jump in now, but I'll wait. I'll wait.
But Nathan, she has not shared a meal with this man. She literally has never shared a meal with this man. Like that
But
to
she
me
got
is
him
kind of crazy.
out the surge.
We'll talk about that next. So anyway, but this was a moment, and so that they had, and but my favorite part obviously was the wedding in this episode. I thought it was great. So I'd give it a pretty high score for When Calls the Heart. I'll give it like an 8.5 out of 10, I think, on this one. Pretty high. What about you, Caroline?
I'll give it 8.5 as well.
What about you, Ruth?
I will go with the 9 on this one.
We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So then the next episode is Changing Times. This is episode 11, and it's Landis, the school inspector, arrives in town and causes trouble for Elizabeth. Rosemary finds her calling. A search is called when one of Hope Valley's residents is lost, and Carson and Faith's relationship is put to the test. So here's my super controversial hot take on this episode.
Okay. All right.
I am team school inspector. I agree with him. It is going to take extra work to teach Angela correctly, and you need that training. And honestly, the other students will have to sacrifice their education. If literally everything that you're going to write on the board, you have to explain independently to Angela and teach her by herself. You can't do that without at least having an assistant there. And so he's right. Just because Elizabeth wants to do it doesn't mean that she has the skills or the ability to do it. And so when you have a special needs student like that, you need to have the qualifications to be able to teach a special needs student. And otherwise she'll suffer and the other children will suffer. So I agree with him. I really do.
Yeah.
So that's my hot take. What do you think about that, Caroline?
But I get like why she wants her to be like in the classroom, because I did work with children with disabilities, and like seeing them like in like their classroom with other students, it was rewarding. So I get that. But I say have Katie come and help. So like that's what was going in my mind during that. I was like, oh, Katie.
You need an assistant that will be in charge, so that way you can teach the whole class.
But I don't think they should shut down the school, because I'm like, no, sir. Like, but I agree that if she is going to do it with Angela, she needs to have like someone else to help her.
Yeah. But it has to have that training too.
Yeah. I mean, I understand, I understand the whole education thing and getting the right training. I mean, hey, I was a teacher. I went through non-traditional training to become a teacher, but I wasn't having to take on a child, a special needs child like that in the classroom, and I was not having to do that. And anytime I had special needs kids, there was an assistant. There was somebody there. And so I don't think it needs to be shut down, but I think that there needs to be some kind of alternate. I understand why you may want to be able to give this child an education, but there's no way that Elizabeth can, without the proper certification and really without some help, there is no way that she can give full attention to those kids plus a child with special needs. She can't.
That's what I agree.
And so I don't see, the inspector looks like he's coming off as this really horrible, villainous type person. What he's doing is he's trying to get her in step with the way the modern education is going. Things are changing, and this is what she needs to do. Isn't he wanting? Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't he wanting her to join like? The school, like county, like school system. And she should not be resistant to that, because that's actually a positive thing. You get more support, you get more standardized things. That's not a horrible thing. That's actually that is modern education, and that's not a horrible thing. She's resistant to it, but if she would actually go and maybe if she could get out of her little love triangle and spend some time, and I'm not trying to put Elizabeth down, don't get me wrong, she's a fantastic teacher, but if she could take a break from being focused on all of her personal things and realize the inspector's not trying to come and like ruin the entire school, he's trying to get things are changing. It's not going to be too much longer. It's not going to be a one-room schoolhouse anymore. They're going to separate them into grades, and they're going to have different schools and districts, and it doesn't mean it's a horrible thing. It's change, and she needs to be open to it. But that's just me being. I know that's me being. That's the educational side of me.
We all agree then. This is great.
That's right.
My hot take isn't that hot then. That's great.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I think that just her wanting to teach isn't enough. Like you have to have it. I mean, she's already in a one-room schoolhouse where she's having to teach children of a bunch of different grades, of a bunch of different abilities. So you throw a child who can't see, is blind, and that would just make things much more difficult despite the best of intentions. And so I definitely was on team school inspector.
That's actually, I like, I like that. And I'm glad you explained it that way, because honestly, I hadn't thought about it that much till you brought it up. And now it's like, what you're saying makes sense. And I'm with you.
And I'm surprised that Minnie was all of a sudden so like she has to be with Elizabeth, kind of a thing, because wasn't that many episodes ago that she was like, I'm not having her come close to that schoolhouse. And I know that they bonded, but still you would think that she would still be a little bit
hesitant.
Yeah.
She gave in too quickly. Like, I'm like, I was expecting more of, I was thinking more of a fight for Minnie and Elizabeth.
They would almost need to maybe start a fundraiser or something like that to have the funds for an assistant. Maybe even Minnie could be the assistant for Angela.
I mean,
that'd be sweet.
It's not quite the same, but I mean, you think of someone like Helen Keller, and I know she, I'm thinking similar time era. She always had her teacher with her. She went to all the regular, and I realized she had more disabilities. I understand that, but still, she had someone with her all the time when she went to school, when she went to college. She had somebody with her, so it makes sense that there would be somebody
helping Angela.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I'm glad we're all in the same. That makes me feel good. We also find out that Fiona was engaged.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
So find that out, and I was a little bit irritated that Florence was the only one returning from the honeymoon. If they
I was so confused.
Something happened to Ned, I will be so furious. I don't even know if I can cover the show. If they all of a sudden in the finale and Ned is like something bad's happened to him, I will be so mad because he's not answering the phone. What is going on?
Yeah, well,
that was the best part of the season.
Maybe it was just that Hrothgar was unavailable for that episode or something. There is a possibility. I mean, there could have been a reason behind, maybe he was supposed to be there and then and when it came down to it, there could have been a conflict. I mean, you never know.
You could have just not had him in the episode at all. Like, not even addressed it.
I know.
I'm just saying, in this episode, if he's dead for some reason, I will be so mad.
Spoiler alert, I saw on Loretta's Facebook or Instagram, Hallmark posted a picture of Ned and Florence for episode 12. So
good.
They were hugging.
Oh, good. Okay. There you go. Thank
it was
you.
a good spoiler.
You're welcome. Good spoiler. That's good.
Because I would have been fired up.
Yeah.
So we also have Wyman Walden is there, and he's back. He's the one, like we said, who stole Jesse and Claire's state savings. But I'm a little bit confused because did he just convince Jesse to invest in something, or did he steal it?
That's what I was wondering.
I don't know if we know the whole story. I feel like have we really gotten the whole story?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so that's maybe we'll find out on the finale. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, hope so.
So then we have an awkward conversation between Elizabeth and Lucas where she tells him that she forgave Nathan. And he's just kind of like, it looked like more than that. Like,
that was so
good. And another example of him refusing to enter her home, which I think is so weird. What is up with that?
I actually did think that was weird. I thought about you guys when I saw that. I really did. I thought like, oh, yeah, there's that awkward moment. And I've really watched, and it's like, it's really awkward because doesn't she invite him in twice? And I'm like, what?
He is not, it's like there's like COVID in the house or something. Like, this is social distancing.
But Nathan, he goes in free. He goes in like, no problem. Like, I got this.
Yeah. We also have Elizabeth cleaning or warming up Nathan's surge.
Woo, go Elizabeth.
You were really excited about that, Caroline.
Yes, because that's like the only thing we got from them this season. I'm like, see, episode 11, And I'm like, I wish this was episode 2.
I know. I mean, because I'll tell you what, I went about crazy with how they stretched out with Jack and Elizabeth and over so many seasons. I was just like, but and now it's I guess it's just Elizabeth's style is to be as
slow and steady.
molasses, like when it comes to, oh my gosh. But
please let them get in, like, please let there be another wedding like next season. Like I don't need it to go 5 more seasons.
Oh my
like,
gosh, no. So this YM guy, he tries to intimidate Fiona, and so there's this whole scene there where she's saying he's gonna buy the barbershop, and there's all this kind of creepiness going on. And then also there's this whole scene with Rosemary going up to the Canfields, and there's these Pinkerton men there, and one of them shoots a gun and spooks the horse, makes her fall off her horse. And I didn't realize that the Canfields had moved. Had they told us that before?
No, like I was like, they got a row house. I'm like, who moved so they can get a row house? Like, I was very surprised. Yeah.
Did you realize that, Ruth?
I'm not. I really. I probably didn't even think about. I'll be honest. I don't even know if I necessarily picked up on that.
Because last time I thought he was all building that swing outside the cabin and
fix the steps.
But you know what it probably is though, because now he's pastor, so maybe that's and so maybe that's the parsonage, and because now he's pastor, so maybe he has the parsonage, since that's provided by the church. He might have to, they might, as weird as it might sound, they might have 2 different places because they don't necessarily own the parsonage, but maybe they have to have it ready. Maybe that's where they live when it's like the weekend, and then maybe they go during the week out to the other place. I don't know if that's true. I'm not sure.
Well, they're renting it out to these Pinkerton guys, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So
Rosie will go in to investigate.
Yeah. So it probably has something to do with the parsonage. I'm just going to assume that, because that's the normal thing, that maybe they went ahead and moved into the parsonage. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, it was interesting.
That's true.
I was just like, what happened? I feel like we missed an episode.
And I hope the swing is in the backyard of the row house. Like,
yeah, that'd be nice.
The swing therapy.
Yeah. And then Nathan, he puts this YM guy, he puts him in the cell in the jail, and I'm like, what is he charging him with? You can't just put someone in jail all day just for what? Like, what did he do?
Harass? I don't know.
Yes, I was like, wait, you can't just put someone in jail because you don't like them. You have to. They have to have done something.
I guess they didn't want him to run so he can like talk to him, like question him later. So I guess he didn't want, like, okay, I'm holding you until questioning.
I was surprised that he agreed to go in, because if it was me, I would want to know what the charge is before I was in the cell all day. But maybe I'm just crazy. I was like, what is? It is up there in Canada. Who knows?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I hadn't even thought about that, but I know that there's it. That's probably who I'm just gonna say who knows. I don't know.
Anyway, but the probably the best part of this whole episode was Carson losing the ring. And then looking for it, and then him putting his hand in the pudding.
Yes.
That was hilarious.
And then Faith walks in. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, that was very good.
I know. That was That was.
I was
good.
just helping with the pudding in my hands,
Yeah.
And Minnie and Claire were like, they were like so awkward too. It was so good.
Yeah. Like
that was funny.
It was funny. Yeah, it was nice. We don't usually get a scene like that. in When Calls the Heart, they don't usually do something that is physical humor. You don't get that. You don't get that too much. I mean, we get
Right.
a few funny moments here and there, but like that was, you don't get that. So it was nice to see that. I agree.
Yeah. And then we have Gowan getting a letter from Christopher, and it has a
Yeah.
picture with him and Rachel. And so I guess that's their ending for their story. And that was really cute.
That was cute. It's sweet.
I liked that.
I thought it was going to be from Abigail. I was like,
Oh,
is it from Abigail? And then I'm like, it's from Christopher. I was so mad.
Oh,
But then it had the picture of the two of them, which was cute.
yes, it was.
Yeah.
I like that.
That was cute.
Yeah. And then we also have this whole thing going on with Lee and Rosemary. Like she's been looking at all these business transactions. She's driving Lee crazy, always on his desk and filing things wrong and causing problems. And she at the end, towards the end of the episode, Lee gives Rosemary a desk. And that was a cute moment.
That was so cute.
I mean, I still think the theater would have been a better idea. And I'm having a hard time letting that go. But Rosemary starting a newspaper is pretty cute too.
It is pretty fitting though. Like she is into everyone's business. So the perfect job.
Yeah. So that's cute, and that should be fun coming up in further seasons. Yeah. And then Elizabeth talks to Bill, and Bill basically says that says to her, "Are you an attorney? Isn't this why you came to me? Like, let me look at it." And so
that's like one of the first scenes like they've had together on like several episodes. I'm like, I miss seeing Bill and Elizabeth together. So that made me happy to see them together.
So Jesse ends up missing, and we know where he was going or what was he was going to. So something to do with Wyman,
or no, I think it was something with the business. Did I?
Oh, okay.
I think so. I think that sounds right.
With Lee, like the business with Lee.
Yeah, with the lumber. Yeah, like he was going to go do something, and so Lee Lee let him use his car, and so yeah.
Well, so it's rainy. Clara yells at Wyman. She gets very upset, and then Lucas says that he's looking for a new way, a fresh start. So that was good for Team Lucas fans.
That was a good conversation with him and Carson. Like, it was very telling, for both of them.
Right. Yeah. We did get a cute scene with Elizabeth singing to Baby Jack.
Oh my goodness.
So sweet. Oh.
She sounded amazing. I really, I mean, that was, the last time we heard Elizabeth sing was Danny Boy. And this, I think, was even more beautiful than that. It was so sweet, so tender, just flawless. I told her, I told Erin how much I just thought it was beautiful, and she was very appreciative. So that was nice, because usually I only say that because I know that lots of times she doesn't respond to me, and I'm not mad at all. But it was kind of neat that she noticed that I said that, and coming from a musician, since I'm a singer too, it's like it was just so beautiful. And
I thought she would sing Danny Boy to Little Jack, and then I would lose it then. But like it was very sweet, and she sounded beautiful. Yeah.
Has she sung before on the show, Caroline?
She sang Danny Boy
Yep.
in the engagement, and then she and Jack sang Amazing Grace.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right.
I forgot about that.
But that's it.
Yeah.
So then
musical episode, season 9.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'd love that.
Oh, absolutely. I am so for that.
So Lucas says that love is not just an emotion, it's also an act of will. And he says, I want you to find your true love. In order to that, I need to set you free.
Yeah.
And that he noticed she and Nathan are more than what they say. I'm like, oh, Lucas. Because of all the teeth watching he's been doing.
Yes. Yes.
Poor Lucas.
I know.
I do feel for Lucas. I mean, I feel for because I've really come to love. I wasn't too sure about his character in the beginning. I mean, as far as being a romantic suitor, I wasn't really that sure. I felt like, I don't know if I like this, but he's been such an upstanding gentleman. Gone far beyond the Call of Duty, and he's not just a saloon owner. I know that some members of Team Nathan really put Lucas down big time, and I don't like that. It's like it's fine. And I know you're not one of them. I know, but I mean, it's fine for you guys to pick sides. I mean, I don't think that's an issue, but let's not tear either one of them down, because in their own right, they there's a purpose for them. And let's not just say, well, Nathan's just so wonderful because he's the Mountie and Lucas is the saloon owner, so we just hate him and he's the dirt of the earth. Yeah, let's just not do that. But anyway.
No, especially here in Hope Valley, because the saloon is really more of a community gathering place. They even have scenes with Allie in there, and people eating their meals. And it's just, I mean, the last time that it was any kind of scandal was them just being too loud. And that was
at 10 o'clock.
So at 10 o'clock, which was ridiculous. But that would be the last time there's any kind of scandal.
Right. And I love Lucas. Yeah. I just don't like him with Elizabeth as much. I want him to find. And I want him to find true love, like someone that appreciates him for, who he is, not someone's second choice. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not feeling her with either, to be honest, but, but I think that it's obvious that the show wants her to be with Nathan, and I get it, because that's kind of the premise of the show is the teacher with the Mountie in the frontier. That's what the show is, and I guess that's what the books are. So I don't know. I think it would be more interesting as a show if she picked somebody different, just because that's more interesting to me. But that's obviously not what they're doing, and so we'll see what happens in the finale. But I am expecting there to be some kind of Team Nathan declaration. If there's not a kiss, I'll be annoyed.
There has to be a kiss, because the title says the kiss. And
is it?
Not, if it's not, I will revolt. If
it's a near kiss, I'll be irritated.
If it's interrupted by little Jack, I will scream.
Yeah, it says here on IMDb, Elizabeth finally realizes who she is supposed to be with. Big changes are coming to Hope Valley. The town rallies together to say goodbye and good luck to one of its own.
Carson.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Carson.
We know it's going to be Carson. That's not a spoiler.
No, it's not.
I mean, we know that. That's not even, and that's not somebody told me that. Anyway, I just making sure.
It's obvious.
I'm only saying that because people will say, "Oh, Ruth works for Paul and she has inside knowledge." No, I'm just going with the story. We know that's who's leaving at the end. We know that. Okay.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So,
someone
very good.
Yeah. Someone messaged me like, "Is Henry leaving for Abigail?" I'm like, it's Carson. Like, you follow the story. Like, it's Carson.
It's definitely Carson.
It's him. He He's already been. I mean, he's what? Didn't he kiss the horse goodbye?
Yes.
If it's not Carson, I'll be super irritated.
I know.
So it better be. But yeah. So Ruth, what would you give this episode 1 to 10?
I think of this one. I think I'll go with an 8.5.
Caroline?
8.5.
Whoa. Yeah, I was not a big fan of this episode. Watching it, I was kind of irritated, and I maybe part of it is that I really liked the previous episode, and so things like Ned being gone, Elizabeth being difficult, the whole schoolmaster thing, I don't know. It wasn't my favorite, so I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Ooh, whoa.
Oh, whoa.
You were unhappy.
I was not loving this episode. I've enjoyed our conversation about it way more.
Rachel, that's ahead. Yeah, that's and you know what though? It's great that you're willing to come out and say what you really think about it, because there is freedom. It's like that's the cool thing. We don't all have to agree.
Yeah.
And that's always
that's what makes it fun.
I mean, that's what I have appreciated about you, Rachel, from the very beginning, is you've always been outspoken about what you think, and you didn't care who was gonna, who was upset, or you weren't gonna give in. I think I admired that in you, because I was not always like that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Well, let us know if you're listening what you think. Did you love both episodes? Were you hit and miss on them like me? Where were you at? Let us know in the comment section or on Twitter. We would love to hear your thoughts and know what you're thinking is coming in the finale. So that will be really fun. And it was so much fun talking to both of you. And
yes.
And Ruth, where can people find you?
So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, RuthHill74. You can find my website is mydevotionalthoughts.net. And then Facebook, if you look up Media from the Heart, My Devotional Thoughts, it's kind of like you can find it either one. You'll find that.
Great. And Caroline, what about you?
You can follow me on Twitter at MeToCarolineR.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. We're doing over on my channel. I'm doing Muppet May all month for Family Movie Night. It's a lot of fun stuff going on over there. And make sure you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. We sure appreciate that. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our patron group, and we have some really fun stuff coming up. This month, we are having our watch along with director Michael Damian, where we are going to be watching the Christmas Waltz. So you don't want to miss out on that. It's only $2 a month to join and support the Patreon, and you get to be part of our Facebook group where we talk One Calls to the Heart and many other fun things. So please take a look at that information in the description. And then we also have our merch store, which has tons of Hardee's inspired merch. So please take a look at that as well. And thanks so much to both of you. And we'll talk about the finale next week. Bye, everyone.
Okay.